Our final speaker for this first section of today's session, Civil Security and Disaster Management Demands, is Dr. Bequignon from the European Space Agency, ESA. He will discuss the increasing demand for geo-information for rapid response from an European perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. So being the last speaker of the session, my speech is very simple because everything has been said. So back to Dr. Schwetzler. Schwetzler's introductory remarks, keynotes, indeed, disaster reduction is a very complex activity. And Earth observation can certainly contribute to many of these aspects. When we started working with the civil protection community and disaster management community 10 years ago, we realized how complex it was. And deliberately, our interlocutor at the civil protection decided to make it simpler and to make very simple demands. Just took the slide from them, which summarizes their demands in terms of response to a disaster, so very specific parts of the disaster reduction cycle. They need reference maps, accurate geographical information, rapidly available, especially in Europe. They need damage maps, just to understand, as Mr. Rauter said, what is the effect of the disaster, which roads are still practical, usable, etc., etc. So it's very simple, simplistic, and probably it was too simple. So the question is, are we delivering this now? So you know this gentleman, he's going to be the leader of the European Union in a couple of weeks' time, and he said something in plural. For those who do not understand French, I can try to translate what he said. This GMS program we've been talking about since 2001 has now to deliver concrete and operational results. And for once, I think this is a very wise and sensible statement. So the question now is, are we doing this? Okay, we've got plenty of projects. There are plenty of things. And just take the projects funded by ESA, but indeed there are many others funded by the European Commission on the national level. All of these projects have somehow provide somehow a contribution to disaster reduction, from urban planning to food security to forest fire management, etc., or the security of the at sea. All these projects contribute to that. So we've got projects. And we've got also, as Mrs. Kudari said, we've got plenty of satellites today. We cannot complain. There are more and more resources, be it European satellites or meteorological satellites or national missions, such as the one which are there, and I think it will be illustrated later today. Yes, we've got these resources. So what is required to bridge the gap? Okay, there are some technical challenges, and some of them were mentioned before. We need a coherent data acquisition and ordering system, observation strategy. There are places which are prone to disasters, which are well known, or places which are where unrest, civil or military conflicts may occur, and these places are well known. So we need to have this observation strategy, and that's very much in place with this process called GEO, Global Earth Observation System. It's there. Yes, we need a balanced international cooperation. But most important, we need to be able to deal with the various instruments which are available with the European Union. We have the civil protection mechanism, we have the stability instruments, we've got ECHO, etc. All these mechanisms are there, they are present. We have to be able to channel the information through those mechanisms. This slide comes from Galileo, and I just wanted to show this thing, to show the complexity and the variable geometry that we have to cope with in Europe. We've got many organizations with different parameters. That's reality. The same would apply to Earth observation. If you consider what is GMES, the member states member of the European Space Agency or the European Union, if you consider the way disaster response is carried out in Europe, sometimes it's through NATO, sometimes it is under the UN system. So we've got to be able to deal with this complexity. And here I'm not even talking of the national differences and national or subnational responsibilities in terms of disaster management. We have to be able to cope with this geometry. One example now about balanced international cooperation. That's an example of China. The space charter was mentioned before. It's one of the latest activation after the earthquake. This system was triggered by the Chinese authorities. They produced a number of maps. Some maps were about the effects of the earthquake itself. But these maps are about the effect of secondary possible disasters caused by the heavy rains which affect the country. So on these ones, they try to map the flooded areas and the possible impact on the dams. There is two things which are quite interesting in these slides, apart from the technical information. One thing is that this slide is derived from two satellite sources. One is RADARSAT, the Canadian satellite. The other one is Formosat, which is a Taiwanese satellite. So it's quite extraordinary that this information was handed over to the Chinese authorities from a Taiwanese satellite, which was originally built for very different purposes. So that was made possible. It is one lesson that you have to take from this image. Yes, you can organize international cooperation in such a way that data is exchanged at international level, even in, let's say, difficult or tense political situations. The second lesson that you have to take from this image is the fact that this is processed by Chinese authorities. It's not a map which is derived in Europe. This is a map which has been devised by the Chinese authorities themselves. I'm not saying that we don't need to make maps. Brian Routledge explains how they can support the teams which are sent abroad, the European teams which are sent abroad. And certainly we do need to have these maps, but we do need to have this partnership, and that's also a challenge there. And last thing I would like to show, despite the first slide I showed, saying, well, we need rapid mapping. Now, the kind of needs that we have got for civil security goes much beyond rapid mapping. And I just wanted to show this one, which is the shrinking of the ice in the Arctic and the opening of the routes, the shipping routes. That has a political and security impact, indeed. And there was a recent report by Mr. Javier Solana emphasizing that climate change will raise international security concerns. And the message there is that we will need more information for strategic thinking and strategic preparation than only mapping or rapid mapping. So just to summarize, 3 challenges which are counted as we need to solve a number of different issues, but we certainly need to be able to cope with the institutional complexity that we have in Europe, which is sometimes a strength. We need to be able to develop international partnerships in multilateral forum, very often the United Nations. And lastly, we need to be able to face unexpected circumstances and provide also unexpected questions. Thank you.